as I always say that, your quote is, don't put your self-worth into your business. My thing that I've always coined over this podcast is the journey and the destination are one. Meaning that the journey that you're working towards are one single thing that you're continuously building towards. And each item that comes in you actually is part of the process that's going to get you towards that you actually desired. And it's like your unique journey is like your unique journey. My unique journey is your unique journey.
Man, I got to push back on that. It's tough.
What do you mean, dog?
Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. This is the podcast where we receive stories, tips, and tactics from entrepreneurs who have done it. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
And today we have a wildcard episode for you. This is something where we, chop it up between each other, talk on a specific topic, and just dive deep. So, Owen, what's good with you, bro? How you doing?
Dig deep, man. We dig deep. We dive deep. Everything is going good with me. It's been a great week so far. Had a successful week at work. After a nice vacation, taking some time off, and now we're back in the grind. We have about another month left of the year, so that's what strategy as strategic. We got to be strategic for 2022, and we're just about to bang it out, man. Bang out some pods, bang out some plans for next year.
You got a new space.
You got a new space. It's like it's been right under our nose, and we did not find out about this spot, but the hunt is done. And now we're about to execute, bro.
Most definitely. So you have some podcasts coming up with Giselle.
Giselle Mello.
Yes. And a VC. You also have a podcast coming up with Jasmine Lee. Shout out Jasmine. And there's just some exciting stuff coming up, so I'm really excited to share that with y'all. But, what do you want to talk about today?
There's been a lot on my mind, specifically that has to do with, just business. Building a business is fun. And when I reflect on the journey of being an entrepreneur, one thing that I always get is like I have these spurts of moments where I get excited by a new idea. Have you ever had this? It's just like you start a project and you get excited by a new idea. With even with us, man, it's like we have so much creativity that we want to just execute on everything, but you can't.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and ultimately, when we get in this position, there is a lot of things I've noticed that tend to happen with our mindset. So what I really wanted to focus on today is specifically with mindset. And it's more of derived from, when you start a business, when you start from the top, you go through a honeymoon phase period, the same way you would with a girl. I've definitely been in honeymoon phase periods with past relationships. They're very intoxicating. It's so euphoric, the way you feel that love and everything. And that's the same way you do in business. You get started. You get enthralled with the idea of what it could be, where it could have some impact. But then the magic ends, that feeling ends, and now you actually have to commit to what you're doing and have to execute day by day by day. But the funny thing is, once you actually end this whole honeymoon period, you now enter this position I call the Trough of Sorrows, right? Where you are executing on things, nothing changes. You try and sell a product, nothing's happening, service, nothing is really hitting, and you're just stuck doing activity every single day that's disguised as production, but you're just in this malaise of moving every single day, but nothing's really happening. So I really want to focus on what causes these things and how we can get people out of there to really get them back moving again, because it's something that's happened to us and we've discussed it, and now we're back up and running.
Most definitely. So what are some of the ways that you've seen it affect people?
I think people are quick to, talk about, we talk about failure a lot, right? And I think once you get in this position where things get difficult, it's easy to really, classify it as a failure. So, we got to establish that, like, what does failure look like to you? Let me ask you this, like, what does failure look like to you, Al?
Failure looks like not fulfilling, one, a promise, or two, an expectation. So a promise in the sense of I made this promise to somebody else, and then the expectation of I expected for me to be here, and I'm not there yet.
So that's how you classify failure?
That's how I classify it, yeah.
Failure. The way I see failure to me is when it's all said and done, and I did not really reach the goal of where I wanted to be. I think if something if your version were to apply to me, I'd say it as this is something that's just momentary in time, something that I just experienced right now. It's an error, perhaps in judgment that I could not deliver the service. It's an error in perhaps, taking on more capacity than I think I can handle. So those things for me is just more about a decision that I've made that did not really yield the outcome that I wanted. But I don't really see it as a failure in business, because I think if we were to, with all due respect to how you define it, right? But if we're to define it the way like that, then it's easy to feel like a failure every day, right? Because expectations change, you grow out of expectations, and you grow as a business. And the more you deliver, the more you try and produce, sometimes you'll come up short, but it might not mean you're a failure.
Yeah, and that's the thing I actually struggle with, is creating expectations and not feeling down once it doesn't happen. You know? And that's something I try to control. Like when we get guests that are come on the podcast and you're like, yo, about to get this guest. Yeah. What's my usual reaction?
Once they come on?
No, before they come on.
Well, we feel like we hit the lotto. Mm-hmm. Right? We feel like we hit the lotto we got a great guest. We feel like we are going to get a change maker on the podcast that's going to bring a new audience. It's going to bring a new listener in because we're bringing in their audience. So we're feeling we're close to making it as podcasters.
Yeah. And what's my usual reaction when we first get that first little intro?
Alex acts like there's no guest coming. It's just like there's another run of the mill, another pod, another part of the episode plans that we've got. You just act like it's an everyday thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a strategy that I've developed over time because we consistently have people come on, not come on, guest flops. It's a consistent thing. Even with big shows, that always happens. Mm-hmm. And it's just a way of making sure you're level-headed throughout the journey.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I find has kept me somewhat level-headed. And it's hard. It really is, because there's times where you start, anticipating, building expectations, and once those expectations don't meet what you actually want, it's depression. Depression is feeling like, hey, I have a specific expectation of what I want to be, where I want to reach, and not reaching that is a feeling of letdown. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that failure is to me, man.
So how do you? That's interesting, man. Like, where do you go setting up? So now that you know that, do you find yourself setting less expectations? Like setting, you expect something, but do you expect less out of yourself, or do you not put pressure on yourself? Walk us through the whole way of thinking now that you've established this is how you define what failure looks like to you.
For me personally, I struggle with it, to be honest with you. On a day-to-day basis, I still put my self-worth in my business every now and then, and I have to continuously tell myself to not do that. But I continuously, move towards things, and if it doesn't happen, I have to just stay steadfast that I'm still working towards the goal. Mm-hmm. And if it does happen, all right, great, it does. But if it doesn't, I have to continuously tell myself, that it's just part of the journey. It's just a part of what's gonna be for me. So what's for me is for me, and what's not for me is not for me. Mm-hmm. And just leaving it as simple as that.
Yeah, everything as I always say that your quote is, don't put your self-worth into your business. Mm-hmm. My thing that I've always coined over this podcast is the journey and the destination are one, meaning that the journey that you're working towards are one single thing that you're continuously building towards, and each item that comes in you actually is part of the process that's going to get you towards that you actually desired. And it's like your unique journey is like your unique journey. My unique journey is your unique journey.
Man, I got to push back on that. It's tough.
What do you mean, dog?
It's tough because I don't think Drake at, the top of the charts now is the exact same Drake we saw when he dropped Toronto.
But Drake would not.
City is Mine.
But what Drake would not be Drake if he did not go through comeback season, Best I Ever Had, that whole EP that he dropped. Drake, if you look at Drake back in 2008 till now, completely different guy, right? But he will not learn those lessons to get to where he is today if he did not go through those moments where, hey, this is hitting, I have to craft my image differently.
Of course. So he hadn't arrived till, I would say, until he got signed. And actually, even before that, I would say he arrived once he got his first local hit. You know, I would say that's when someone's arrived.
Do you think it's best ever had? Local hit.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, okay.
For sure. That's not even a local hit. That's like a platinum record. You know,
Yeah,
but
that was like a radio smash.
yeah,
hit.
like the song with Trey Songz could be
Successful.
considered. You know, no, not even before that. Replacement Girl.
Replacement Girl.
That was like a medium, and that was played on 106 in Park.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like a medium, you know, local hit, and that's like a part of getting there. But you know, I definitely feel like once you get to a specific spot, you can say, all right, I've arrived. Now we need to continuously keep it going. Like Issa, once she's got this deal with HBO, can say she arrived, and she has to maintain. I don't think she was thinking I've arrived once she was creating the not insecure, awkward black girl series. Definitely not.
So your thing with what I'm saying, the journey and the destination are one. You don't think they're not together?
No, I don't. I think you continuously move, and through the steps that you take, you get to a space where you can say, I'm a lot farther than once where I started, you know, and I may not have arrived yet, but I'm almost there. I'm there now, and to go farther and farther and farther.
But dog, this goes back to something you agreed with me on, right? Which is the bridge of incidents, meaning that the incidents that happen towards you getting to the goal you want are all tied back to being part of your journey. So the journey and the destination are one, because you back to Vivian K. Her journey has been start kinky curly yaki over time. She's gone through the journey of that. Across the journey of that, she has gotten to her destination where she's Vivian K. But all those things are intertwined together to make it one thing. Like, so whenever we talk about a destination, everything that you reverse engineer to get to that, we cannot recreate it for ourselves. It's only Vivian K.
For sure.
So that's why I say the destination and the journey are all intertwined together, because there's a bridge of incidents which happen for you to get there.
But the bridge of incidents getting you from point A to point B doesn't mean that point B and point A are the same. It just means that that's what led you there.
But they're synchronized though.
How? If I'm traveling from point A to point B, how is point A point B?
Because without going to point, let's say without going from point, let's say without going through point A, B, and C, right? You would not have really made it to point C. So like to get to point C, you first had to go through point A and B. But you would not have known how to get to point C if you had not gone through point B and A. So that means it's all intertwined together, because you know a C exists, but you have to go through the journey of A, then you figure out what B is. Then once you figure out what B is, C is going to magically appear in front of you. But you cannot really devise the means of how to get to C. So that's why, like, if Z is your journey, you'll go through a journey of 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, which the tunnel's going to open, the vision's going to appear to you, and you're going to walk through it, but it's synchronized together.
But here's the thing, you can quit. You can quit. So if point A, all right, we're staying on these points, but if you can quit on that journey, then you don't make it to that specific space.
Of course.
So if you were to keep going, then you make it to that space. So that's the prime reason why I don't think they're connected. I think they're steps, but not the same. You know, it's like saying a staircase, the bottom of the staircase is the same as the top of the staircase. You have to take each steps to get to the top of it. And I 100% agree with that. You have to take each step to get to the top of the staircase. But the staircase, being the top of the staircase and the bottom of the staircase is not the same thing.
But bruv, let me blow your mind right here. They're both one staircase.
Yes, but you have to start at one step to get to the bottom, to the top of it.
But that's why I say they're connected. Like
they're connected, definitely. That's where we agree.
Okay.
They're definitely connected, but they're not the same. They're two different points. They're two different placements. So in order to get to where you need to be, you have to take each step. You know, you might trip and fall on some steps, but in order to get to that top, you gotta take that step. So Kevin Hart, where he started, is not the same place where he is. He has to take individual steps, walk through specific doors to get to where he is. You know, to say that Kevin Hart where he started and Kevin Hart where he finished is the same thing. The journey is the same place as the destination. They're one. Doesn't really feel like it makes sense.
Where I come from when I talk about the journey and the destination are one, it's more about talking about what I talk about more about it, right? It's more about beginning with the end in mind. It's more about you got to define where you want to go and have that vision to work towards that. But sometimes to get to the vision, there's not a direct path that you're going to go through.
For sure.
So it goes back to what I talk about, the bridge of incidents, the whole Neville thing that I always bring up a lot about, meaning that the journey of everyone is really unique.
Yeah.
And each step that you go through is part of that end vision that you have, which is going to lead you there. So whatever journey you go through, that is part of the destination.
And you have to change, right?
Of course you have to change.
Exactly.
But the change will be exposed to you as you grow. For example, you and we started this pod together last March. There's been a lot of things that have happened across the whole year. And some things we knew that was going to happen. We wanted to happen, but we didn't know how it's going to happen. One thing led to another, which led us to perhaps a certain individual to podcast with, a certain place to podcast. Certain individuals popped up, certain spaces that we've desired appear in front of us, but we could not have devised those things to happen. So it's all about intertwined together. It's more about like energy. You can call it energy. You can call it the law of attraction.
I 100% agree.
You get what I'm saying? So that's why I say the journey and the destination are one. That's where I'm coming from. You're coming more from like the pragmatic way of thinking it. Destination, journey, they're definitely not connected.
Yeah.
Because Alex at 14 is not Alex at 28. You get me? But there's things that have happened in the bridges between those separate years that have made you who you are. But you are not here by accident. You're Alex Whitfield because you've made Alex Whitfield into Alex Whitfield. But each little micro step exposed the next version of Alex Whitfield.
For sure.
So that's why I say that the journey and the destination are one.
All right, so I want to know what y'all think. Do you guys think that the journey and the destination are one, or do you believe that it needs to take steps to get to each? Well, you both agree on that statement.
Yeah.
But do you agree that there are two different spaces that you exist in? I'd love to get your thoughts. You can DM us at 24/7 Hustler or tweet us at 24/7 Hustlers to let us know. And speaking of which, shout out to Candicia. Candicia was tweeting us about Rooks' podcast. So I appreciate you reaching out, Candicia. And if anyone has any comments, make sure you DM us, tweet us, and we'll feature you in the podcast.
Absolutely. Shout out to Candicia John, Curly Gang. If you have curly hair, check out Curly Gang.
Yes, Curly. Let me be specific. So I did the same thing. I called it Curly Gang, but it's Curly Prince.
Curly Prince.
That's the sweater, the hoodie.
Curly Gang is the crew.
Curly Gang is the crew, and Curly Gang is the meetups.
Oh gosh.
Curly Gang, Toronto Curly Girl meetups. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to her, and let's get back into it, bro. So talk to us more.
So back into it, which goes back into it. A lot of people who are in business start feeling this moment of confusion because there's a lack of vision. So what causes a lack of vision? In my opinion, I think when you are doing something and you experience this feeling, you might be doing something because you caught on a trend. You might be doing something because you're just doing it to make a quick buck. And personally reflecting on that, I've gone through some periods where I've started projects because I was desperate for money. I wanted to make a quick flip. I wanted to catch on a trend, which was hot. It was people are balling. I'm seeing all these Shopify gurus get on like this, trend of selling certain products online, and I get on it. And I'm trying to build a business out of it, but then nothing is really coming into fruition because I lack an end vision. So that is one thing I think a lot of people who are building a business, who are feeling this shift in, they're feeling this energy of, yeah, I'm not really succeeding, I'm not really winning. It's because of a lack of vision. A lot of people go into things because there's no vision in what they're seeing. They're not really seeing what could come out of it. They just want to say, hey, let me start this store, let me start this product, and let me go. And that's how you experience failure in the beginning, because there's not a defined process. There's not a defined end goal of where you want to go. So that's part one of why the mindset part of it is so important, because you don't have a vision. So where do you feel like people can actually start defining their vision? Like, how do you think, like, what do you think people can do to really define a vision for any product that they have? I also want to get in on this as well too, but I want to hear from you, like, vision, especially when starting in business. It could be anything. Do you think people should just start a product just because I want to make a quick flip? Do you think with anything you do, you should always have a vision in it, like an end goal? Where do you see this? Because it's a reason for a lot of failures and a lot of people who would get stuck in the, as I call it, as I mentioned, the trough of sorrows.
One thing I think is, how are you making money?
Mm-hmm.
How are you monetizing the platform? As entrepreneurs, we have to keep that in check. A lot of us just want to do things because we think it'll help people. But at the end of the day, for your business, cash is air.
Cash is air.
Cash is air for the business.
Yeah.
Without the cash, it stops.
It's breathing. It's dormant.
Yeah, it's keeping it a buck. But so how can you align your mission with money? So you can be a conscious capitalist, like Charlemagne says. Shout out to Charlemagne, and continue to grow a business. Just to be keeping it real and very honest. Whether it be serving more people and through volume, through more referrals, whether you do something for free so you get more referrals and so there'll be a longer LTV. Speaking of which, did you see what Dwight has started to do?
Subscriptions.
Shout out to Dwight and his subscriptions, man. Dwight, if you're listening, we got to get you on the podcast.
Miami Fades. Shout out to Miami Fades.
Most definitely. So having a vision for the different revenue streams for the business and how that serves people in its own unique way.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Monique Adlet was on Undercover Billionaire, and she had a juice company. And a lot of people think that when it comes to juice companies, all right, I make juice, I sell juice to you. Mm-hmm. So I go either door to door, person to person to store, and sell juice. Well, she thought of a different strategy, which was using ice cream trucks to reinvent the modality of ice cream trucks to give juices locally to people. So she would wait outside of gyms, people where a lot of healthy people are going, and give them juice there. So it's kind of having a vision.
Innovative. It's an innovative way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's thinking about how she's, having a specific mission, and two, how she's monetizing that mission, which I think is genius. So yeah, that's my answer, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, reiterating the vision is so important. One moment we've had building the pod, we know we're trying to build a great entrepreneurship community here with hustle over everything. But it's also really important to always drive that vision each and every single day. Even with your partners, like you and I, like two of us, there's moments where we have to always remind each other of why we're doing this. What is our end goal? What are we trying to build here? Because I think when you get in the whole process of building every single day, you can just get process and putting the brick and brick and brick. But you also have to step back and see, how's the brick shaping out? Do we need to perhaps turn it this way so we can get this shape that can lead us to this shape? Like, what is the next blueprint now that we've built up this house of bricks to get to the next layer? So that's why even if you have a vision, even if you know what it is, you have to drive this every single day and reinforce it to really feel inspired. You can lose morale if you don't know what your vision is. And if you don't, not if you don't know, but if you don't reiterate it each and every single day. Being transparent. It's happened to me. The past 2 weeks, it's more about, I know what to do. I know the activities. I know the actions I have to do. But sometimes you don't really have the energy to do it because you really need to recalibrate yourself to understand why are we in this in the beginning? Let's step back and look, what are some activities that we've done over time that have worked and haven't worked? Let's look at our data to really see if the vision is really, if the data is pointing towards getting to that vision. Are the activities, and that's why you got to look at it. You got to define the activities, maybe change the activities or eliminate them altogether and bring on new things. And we had this conversation, right, when we sat down together and we reiterated our vision. Like, how did you feel once that was really brought together? Once we looked each other eye in the eye, we're like, hey, this is what we've done. These are the podcasts that have been successful, and these are what we can do next. How did you feel once you reiterated that whole process of what hustle over everything is?
No, it felt calming. It felt like we had more of a direction, so that's always helpful. And you're right, this auditing your past and seeing what's worked, looking at past data has been extremely helpful, right? Whether you're in something like what we're doing creatively or just in any sort of business, auditing your past and seeing what worked over the last year is super helpful. Whether you're in corporate, that's the mode of everything, right? Mm-hmm. What was the Q4 numbers? So what was the Q3 numbers last year?
Let's change our budget. Do we need to switch it up a little bit? It's one of those.
Yeah, most definitely. So now that's just a part of the game, is just looking at the numbers and seeing what works best. How are you acquiring more customers? How are you acquiring more people to the business? Is it through paid? Is it organic? And what were you using influencers before? So it's very valuable to just audit yourself, and that's where we're gonna have to go in the future of having very clear cut data. What's challenging is using like manual methods. Like, for instance, Instagram doesn't really give you like a spreadsheet of your following or how your engagement's been. You have to manually go in, and you can't really download that or automate it like Google does. So like, I know Vanessa Lau, for instance, she has somebody like have a spreadsheet and manually put in your followers every single week, so she can track how successful she's being. But it's the truth. What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, right?
Yeah, and that's extremely, extremely accurate. And even when a lot of people think that, going back, you can go into certain industries just because you think it's easy, it's a lot of fun. And one thing we've noticed is there's a plethora of people doing podcasts, but some of them don't really realize how hard it is to really build a pod. Like the boom in podcasting has just been so interesting to watch to me, just because everybody's getting into it. And sometimes it can feel like, man, like if everyone's doing this, if it's this easy to get into,
should I be
doing it?
Facts.
Is this like really like the barrier of entry has never, like right now it's podcasting is like posting a YouTube video. It's that easy.
Pods are the new blogs.
Exactly. Pods are the new vlogs. It's I won't say I'm motivated, but the more people that hop in, it's like, how do you stand out?
The competition thickens, so you just gotta create more, defining content, and that's what's been motivating me to like look at what's been going on with us and evaluate what's going on. So yeah, bro, it's definitely analyzing the landscape of things. But the thing is that a lot of people think this is super easy. It's not as easy as people think, right? So
what makes podcasts hard for you?
What makes podcasts hard?
Or just being a content creator?
Consistently making content. You have to pull from a specific place consistently, and you have to be consistent. Not that many people are. Not that many people are consistent. So, like for instance, Rashad from Earn Your Leisure used to post 3 times a day, on Instagram. I found that out the other day, and I was like, shoot, all right, maybe you were right. Because I know we talked about that conversation of posting 3 times a day. Well, and then gave you pushback.
And you're like, let's start with 1 post a day.
Yeah. But we did go to 3 at one point.
Yeah.
And we had like a bit of it was an interesting thing. Our reach grew, but our following decreased, and our engagement decreased as well. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting, play when it comes to what you want to do to find what works best. Mm-hmm. So Yeah, man, that's kind of like the mindset shifts that we've been having lately.
Maybe we've been making, like a lot of my friends, people who are coming to me, they're saying, "Hey, I'm starting a podcast. Can you give me advice?
Yeah,
Can you do?" And I mentioned this to you. I said, maybe we're making this look so easy because look at us, right? We post this clip. It's us chilling on the couch, talking. Hey, they're rocking those nice sweaters. They have a cool
rich.
brand. By the way, Cozy Pack, $100 on hustleovereverything.co. Go and purchase that. We're making it look so easy. So we're becoming masters of the craft slowly because this is how you become a master. Masters make things look so effortless. People who are consistent each and every day make it look effortless when they execute it. That's why when Kyrie does a nice dribble or Steph Curry shoots a three, they look so light and easy doing it that makes you want to go do it. So, um, but within that, within starting out, whatever you're doing, I always say you need strategy and a lot of things that come with a lot of fields that you can actually get into so easy is you need to have strategy. So how do you become the best business content creator? How do you build the best clothing brand out there? Because anyone can start a clothing brand. How do you start? How do you grow a certain business that is within a competitive industry to really stand out? Because there's so much noise today, guys. There's so much noise. There's a lot of people out there who are creating. There's a lot of people who are building. What makes you different? What makes you the best at what you do? So you need to define your strategy and what it is that's gonna get you there. We are to come back to us. So we're not just talking and saying, "Hey, do this, do that." We're constantly defining what our strategy is to really become the best content creators that could be out there. What's gonna make your clothing line different than the next person's clothing line? What's going to make your yoga mat brand different than the other person's yoga mat brand? There's so many things that go on just behind marketing, promotion, and etc. that's going to build your army. So with that, man, what do you think people need to do differently once they are establishing what it is? Like, what are 3 steps to establishing a good strategy for your e-commerce business, for anything that you're selling online, especially you being in digital marketing? What are some 3 strategic things you can set as pillars to define what it is that's going to get you to the next level?
Having a unique selling proposition, having copy that tells your story, and having the right business around it. Making sure that the numbers behind what you're selling. So unique selling proposition, unique story, business behind it. Top 3.
Top 3, man. Super easy. It's so simple, but it's so hard to execute.
It's hard to execute, It's very hard to execute. I'm doing that with some of my clients now. And like the third thing, getting the business right, can be tougher because let's say you're moving into the States. All right, do you have a shipping right? Do you have your logistics right? Do you have a great story, a great brand, a great copy, but is the business behind it right? So you need to figure out those other elements, and it can be tough to figure out that, and that's where we need to speak to more people to get those answers for them. Like how do you get the logistics right? How do you get the shipping, the 3PLs done? That's some of the things that some of my clients are struggling with. The other parts are a little bit easier. Finding your unique selling proposition is a little bit easier because you can kind of just either make it up sometimes or see what people are telling you and just repeat that out to other people.
It's copycat game.
Yeah. No, not really copycatting as in you're copying somebody else. Just copying when people are telling you and repeating to somebody else. People realizing that people are saying consistent things like, "Hey, I love your wax because it does X, Y, and Z." And like, oh, okay. Then when someone else asks, "Hey, what does your wax do?" You say that X, Y, Z. So that's some of the game. Another thing I've found too is just listening to your audience. One of my clients paid a YouTuber to promote her stuff on her channel, and the way she spoke about her clothes was totally different than anything she had on any of her platforms. So she now has a better view of how to speak to her customers because that YouTuber gave knowledge into exactly how to perceive it. So it's a difference. So that's some of the things that I think you can really leverage when it comes to creating that unique selling proposition for your business.
Man, strategy is so important today. It's super key. Like, it just fascinates me how we've advanced so much in business, just with access to platforms that anybody can come in and set shop.
Most definitely.
And I get excited by that, but I get so many ideas, but I'm like, man, no. Like, no. You got to do this one thing right. You got to find a way to make this one thing happen, right? And that's the beauty of it. I love business, man. I love that it's hard. I love that it's challenging. I love that not everybody is cut out for it, because once you break through, you get so much experience and knowledge that allows you to execute other things that perhaps you did not have experience for, but that one learning point got you to the next level. I just love the game, man. I love that hustle. I love
the hustle.
The hustle.
I love the game.
The game. It's exciting, man. So we've established, what the vision is, why people feel this moment in time where their business is struggling. You don't know what your vision is. You don't know what your strategy is. And the third thing that I also want to bring up is, what is like your balance that you have between your business and other activities that you do that can perhaps give you inspiration. One thing that you do a lot is, as an entrepreneur, your business is constantly on the top of your mind, right? It's constantly everything you think about. It's what you go to bed and think about. It's what you're eating. When you're driving in the car, you're looking outside the window, you're thinking, like, look at that business there that's doing this awesome marketing campaign. Oh, that's different. You're constantly thinking. But what you've got to learn to do is check out a little bit. Because if you're repeatedly thinking the same thoughts, if you're consistently thinking the same things, how do you advance your business forward? So a good thing to do is to really stop and think about what you've done so far, and perhaps what do you need to refresh. PBD, Patrick Bet-David, he says he had this video, How to Become a Millionaire. And he talked about like that, from average CEOs to great CEOs, how many books on average they read a year. How often are you getting exposed to new knowledge that's going to allow you to get yourself to the next level? So a lot of things that you can do in your business is expose yourself to new things. Are you reading new books? Are you reading the same things? Maybe it's reading and consuming stuff that it's not even in your field. For example, as a digital marketer, maybe read a book on finance and you can maybe think about something differently in your business that can alter the way you approach it, because you read this finance book and you saw how this accountant or financier set up their whole consultancy that can change the way you look at your business, So that is one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, is you have to remind yourself to expose yourself as much as you can to new things. Simple things you can do is work in a different environment, work in a different setting. If you work at home, work in a different building, go to a WeWork, expose yourself to new people out there and see how that really rekindles your energy, rekindles your spirit. All you need is one idea that can ultimately change your business. In business, bro, you only have to be right once, right? You can go through so many failures. You can go through so many things. You can go through so many different iterations, but you only have to be right once. You are someone who constantly learns a lot. You're always reading. You're always exposing yourself. What are some things that you do to consume knowledge that perhaps you don't have to, hey, I have to go consume knowledge, but it's part of your workflow? How do you integrate that into your grind?
Other podcasts.
Other pods.
Other podcasts. I'm consistently listening to other podcasts. I'm consistently on YouTube. Subscribe to different magazines, journals. That's kind of how I stay educated, in Facebook groups. I try to make the circle around me, or the knowledge. I try to make that around me,
This is a brand new Lamborghini here.
Oh my gosh. Yo, I honestly, I'm so ungrateful for Ty Lopez, man.
You're ungrateful?
Ungrateful. Like I'm super ashamed. I mean, he makes me ashamed to be a social media marketer, bro. Because like when his whole business is making like the quick agency, you know, and there's like a whole guys behind agency owners where like a lot of them just start up an agency off of scratch, don't know how to do anything, then go try and hire somebody to do it, then they don't know what they're doing, so they
Hire
got
VA.
training, hire VA. Then they go to the client and make a promise. They can't deliver the client fails. Go to another client fails, and this is in a circle of like getting new clients, failing, and having them churn. Getting new clients, failing, having them churn. You know, so like that stench gets rubbed off on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
it's a stench when you tell people you're an entrepreneur.
Because, for sure. Because there's a lot of startup bros and everything that
all the Patagonia vests.
Yeah, exactly. Patagonia vest.
Go to Mech and get a vest when you say you work in tech. That's the first thing. The tech startup kit.
Yeah,
it's a Patagonia vest, a couple moccasins, right?
A dress shirt. You know, I really dislike that because it's like the suit mixed. Like it's like the suit is no longer relevant.
Altered.
It's altered, exactly. So like if I was to show up in a corporate meeting wearing a t-shirt and a do-rag, I would be underdressed. But the whole notion of that Patagonia thing is to have a casual outfit.
All these successful tech bros made it like as if that's the way to become successful. Like Mark Zuckerberg, he
was to use the Patagonia vest.
Well, Patagonia was he was way ahead of Patagonia.
He was before that.
Patagonia popped off back in like 2015.
Yeah.
Especially when Silicon Valley, like the show came out.
Exactly.
But Mark was just the one to show up in a meeting with like a sleeping robe.
Yeah.
Right? To get like, hey, yeah, give me $3 million. And everybody thought that's the way to become successful.
He was the thought leader of that?
He was, the thing is, he was so successful. No, his product was successful. Look at my hands, guys. This is the way Trump speaks, He was so...
You're a trumpet?
No. I just caught myself doing this, okay. And like Trump is doing this a lot. But yeah, he was successful at what he does, that he thinks that I don't care what you do. I don't care what you think of me. My product is so goddamn good and it's growing rapidly that I will just talk to you the way I want to talk to you. I'm not going to switch up my speech.
Yeah. And he messed it up for a lot of startups, bro.
How so?
Because he grew so quick that he like kind of set the standard of what other businesses should try to follow.
What's a growth look
exactly.
like?
So now other companies, the amount of startup capital that's just being thrown into Google and Facebook is insane, So the companies now, they get startup money and they're like, all right, you need to grow. So they're like, all right, how can I grow fast? Google, Facebook, Amazon. Throw the money in that. Try to get users. Users might churn, but they can say, hey, we have users coming in. And then they get more users to increase the valuation. The valuation goes up. The VCs can say, hey, look, we have a company that does da-da-da-da-da. And then they're like, all right, get more money because money is running out. Get more money, dump a whole bunch again.
Exactly.
And then let's keep going.
It's vanity metrics, man.
It's like vanity metrics, but not vanity metrics at the same time. It's like
It's you earned it. You earned the metrics, but like, is it truly reflective of your business?
Yeah. So it's like, it's funny because people are making fun of Aussie media, but that's what a lot of companies do. That's how they acquire their customers, is through paying for it. But the thing is that they were staying with him, whereas some of them will get them to stay for a longer period of time. So it's a,
So something you got to balance out. But like, we got to give it to Zucks, man. He kind of created a new way of doing business. He started a new way of defining success and what you need to have as a successful tech bro. Yeah, man. If I ever call myself a tech bro, I want you just to slap me, bro. Just be like, if you ever
backhand or open hand, what you want?
I'd rather prefer a backhand because like the front hand, it has a ring to it, like it's like you kind of see stars, right? And I don't want to feel that. I'd rather feel like the back smack, so it's just like a 1-2 thing. I just feel like a big smack and I can just like hold it, but then the pain's gone. But if it's like a slap, bro, I remember my mom used to slap me heavy, bro.
Really?
And I was a bad kid when I was a kid. I wasn't a bad kid. I just used to steal money from her purse and go to the kiosk and get like bear gummies and everything like that. But and she'll slap me so hard that I legit felt like I was so disoriented. I went in another dimension.
Don't kill me.
You know,
Really?
bro, it was a hard slap, bro. And ever since then, I never stole money. I've never been a thief since 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
She taught you right.
I was
She
straightened
slapped
out.
the thief out of you.
She slapped the thief. Went into like a different stratosphere, man. I've never stolen. I can say that, even if it's like a, hey, let me steal a little cookie. No, I'll ask, because I just feel like
You feel the slap.
I feel the slap. I feel the trauma, dog. I feel the trauma. Like I have so many stories about when I was a kid, man. I was so mischievous.
Really?
Yeah, man. There's one time I took money from her purse to buy a Game Boy. I bought a Game Boy for my friend Dennis, and I blamed it on my cousin back in the day. So he was like maybe 15, 16. He was in boarding school, and he came back home. In the first couple of weeks, I blamed it on him. And my parents were like, yo, how could this guy possibly steal money on his first week back? And they just thought I was this innocent kid. I would not do such a thing. But then I tried to get him to take the fall for it, but he was just not having it. So immediately I had to confess. And I remember my parents tying me back, tying my hands, tying my feet. She tossed me. We had a station wagon. It was like a Volkswagen Passat. And she tossed me in the back of the trunk.
Tied up.
Tied up.
Wow.
Tied up in the back of the trunk. We went over to my boy's crib. My mom knocks on the door. His mom opens up, tells her the whole story. Hey, like, I think there's a misunderstanding here. My son got your son's Game Boy and he gave him money, so we're just gonna have to bring that back. And he was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then I came back, man. I remember crying asleep, man. I was, when you sleep and you're just kind of like,
For sure.
it's like a car engine starting.
Yeah, it's just a little stutter.
It's a little starter, man. So, good times, man. Good times. I mean, I definitely deserved that beating for sure. But yeah, where were we? We were talking about. we were talking about strategy.
Yeah.
Talking about vision, strategy, and having balance in what you're doing to recalibrate. One thing I love to do is I love to play golf a lot. And that's what I did on vacation when I was going through that whole morale period of like, what are we doing next? Where are we going? What are we building? What kind of content are we trying to create? I needed that break just to really think about what it is that we do. Because naturally I know myself, like I'm a worker. I like to work. I like to execute. But if I feel like as if what I'm doing isn't really doing anything differently than what I did, I really become reclusive. And I'm like, it's kind of like the Einstein theory. Insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result. You get me? So I felt like I was becoming insane, and I was waking up with so much anxiety. I'm like, like this is what I want to do with my career. Eventually, I want to leave my job to build this business and everything like that. But I'm not really seeing the results. So you become reclusive and you become more introspective as you search for answers, which goes back. You got to think about the vision. You got to figure out a strategy. You got to have some more balance. And that's about execution, which we're at right now. So once you do this loop over again, this 3-point loop, vision, strategy, and balance, and to really create new space in your mind to get new ideas, you're really going to see the skies open up. You're really going to see yourself thinking differently, and you'll be more energized and more motivated to really get ahead and create what it is that you originally set out to create.
Most definitely. And with that being said, let's work towards wrapping up, man.
Yes.
So what takeaways can you give the people to have as homework?
What you can have as homework, some takeaways, is to sit down, whatever business you're in, no matter what level of success you're at, go back and write down the vision of your business, and under the vision, write why you're doing it in the beginning. What you want to do is you really want to rekindle that spirit, that energy of the first time you got into the honeymoon phase of starting your business. Look at the activities that you're doing, see what's working, write down, okay, hey, this is working, this is not working. Take the things that are not working and ask yourself why they did not work. if they did not work because of a certain activity that was not executed to the best of its ability, keep that and revise it for later. But if you can do without them, double down all your efforts into the things that are working and see how much growth you can take to the next step. After that, go back in the board, continue doing that. And essentially, that's what you got to do. On top of like the other personal stuff, I can't decide what's going to make you get new ideas. Perhaps it's listening to a new podcast. Perhaps it's reading a new book, attending a new seminar, whatever is going to be the best way for you to learn. Adopt that, because what you want to do is just continue bringing in new ideas, new energy into your business, so you feel as if that you are going down the right path, that you are growing as an entrepreneur, that you are growing as a business. That is some action steps I would say for you. And don't try and bite off more than you can chew. That's the wrong way to go on about it. Take it step by step, and that's essentially what you got to do. That's my advice, my plan that I've implemented, that I'm following, that I can confidently say you can steal this method of $0 because I get the bag. You get me?
All right. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's podcast. You can make sure you follow us at hustleovereverything.co. Well, not follow us. Check out the website there and
Cozy
cop
Pack.
some merch. The Cozy Pack is live Cyber Monday. You can go and get 30% off our Cozy Pack right now. And you can follow us on Instagram at 247 Hustler. You can follow us on Twitter at 247 Hustlers. And let's wrap the podcast up on that. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
And the hustle is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life.
Have a great week, guys. Peace out.